Hello, Janksters, and welcome to another edition of the MagicJank podcast, the weekly show where members of Team MagicJank get together and talk magic and all the things that are going on as such. And right now we're in the middle of Modern Horizons 3 preview season, actually kind of nearing the end, and there's some insane stuff that has come out since the last time we talked. So we're going to be touching on that. But before we do, we're also going to be talking about some RCQs, and we have some fun updates from within the team. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, though, because we are joined by Carlos, C5 Jr. How you doing, my friend?
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. And then we also have Numbskull in the house. Numbskull, how's it going, man?
What's up, guys? I'm doing, right now, I'm doing phenomenal.
Well,
and you're about to find out why.
Why might that be? Go on, let the folks know. I mean, yeah.
All right. So yesterday, we had an RCQ in my area about 20 minutes from my house in Central PA. And I had planned to go, but I didn't, other than playing on Arena and Explorer. I hadn't prepared for it too much. And I ended up going there, and I was undefeated yesterday, and I won the event.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
So I have an invite to DC SCG Con for the regional championship. Top 64 from there will go to the Pro Tour, which is what I'm shooting for right now.
That is incredible, man. Congratulations.
Yeah. Oh. Thank you. I played Waste Not, which I think we talked about that actually a little bit last week.
Mono black,
Waste Not.
I would have never guessed that you would be on that deck.
And what's funny is when I was talking about, or when I was like figuring out what to play, I went to my main LGS, which wasn't where this was. It's close to this one, but it's on the other side of that town. But one of the managers that I usually talk to about cards and, what to play, I was talking to him about, like, I don't know what to play for the Pioneer season. And he was like, and I was like, I think I want to do mono black. And he's like, oh, you're going to play Waste Not? And I was like, maybe. He's like, well, Waste Not isn't really the type of mono black that you play. And I was like, you're right, it's not. Because it's like a slightly different archetype. And I was like, yeah, I think I might go for, like a Bloodletter and Rush of Dread combo deck, kind of like Devotion thing. That was my initial thought of it. And then I saw that, well, first of all, it was a lot easier to get the cards for Waste Not than it was for the other.
Sure.
Not every, the Devotion, they kind of use a lot of the new cards. I would have had to buy like 2 meat hooks, and it was like, I think like when I bought in for this deck, I probably only had to spend about $100 out of pocket to get the cards that I didn't already have for
nice.
Waste Not. So because Waste Not itself is not an expensive card, so it just made it so that this was something. You know what I mean? It made it so that it was kind of a no-brainer because we knew the deck was guaranteed to be good. And it was a little out of my comfort zone, but it was still mono black. So I was like, screw it. We're gonna run with it.
That rules. Hey, spending $100 so that you can participate, in a Pioneer event. That's not bad at all. Well done.
Yeah, the cost of granted, I did have to borrow a Sholdred, which whatever.
Okay.
I borrowed a Sholdred and an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. Because that's like a $40 land. I wasn't about to,
Sure.
And then of course Shoulder. I think the cheapest Shoulder is like $60 right now. So I did borrow maybe another $100 worth of cards, but it was only 2 cards.
Nice.
But yeah, so that was awesome. And I just kind of started with like a stock list that I found off of like MTG top 8. I started with that, and then a friend and I kind of worked the list a little bit. I played it in an RCQ, and he actually borrowed my deck for the next day for the next RCQ that he was going to go to. And we kind of like joined, had a meeting of the minds and talked about what we think needs to change and what was bad, what was good. So we ended up with some cards that we added. I know we wanted to talk about like overperformers. We can do that.
Absolutely.
A card that overperformed, and well, I should say a card that was bad that was normally in the list was the Maze Mine Tome, which was just it's fine. It's just like it's 2 mana, and it's like on turn 2 you want to be playing your Waste Not.
Right.
You don't want to be playing that. I get it. You get to scribe, fine. But realistically, I ended up swapping him out for Hostile Investigator. So I have 3 Hostile Investigators, 3 Shouldreds, and 1 Extinction Event in the main deck.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Hostile Investigator he provides so much value. And in a lot of situations, the fact that he was a 4-power creature, that actually alone won me some games, because in the semifinals, I went up against someone who in game 2, turn 0, slams a Leyline of Sanctity.
Wow.
I mulliganed to 5, but I had a Shouldred and a Hostile Investigator, and because he couldn't deal with those, the Hostile Investigator won me the game, and the Shouldred, of course, from the triggers and attacking.
Sure.
That won me the game. Whereas had I gone for like a Maze Mind kind of idea, yeah, I'm scrying a lot, but I'm not getting a creature on the board and playing to the board. And you know what I mean? So, and then another in the finals when I played against Nivtalite, getting Hostile Investigator and Shouldred on the board when my opponent was top decking, because I hit him with the Go Blank, the Thought Seize, and he already had to mulligan in game 1 anyway. Just having those 2 on the board and him not being able to cast his bombs, basically, and he had a hard time getting to 5 mana to be able to cast Bring to Light. So that just having that power on the board, it's kind of what should I say? It's kind of like goes against what the deck normally tries to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're not supposed to run that many creatures, but here we are. So there were situations where he made the deck able to do something that it normally can't do, and it was what I needed to win. So that was important. And then another sideboard card that impressed, and some people argue there should be 4 of this in the sideboard, was Invoke Despair. Yeah, and
back, everybody.
Everybody knows. So I think that was another thing that like kind of sold me on playing the deck. It was like, wait, you guys are playing Invoke Despair in the sideboard? I was like, hold on now. I think I want to do this. So because I was like I said, I was up in the air of like which mono black I wanted to play, and I saw that people were actually running this in the sideboard, and there are other people who were arguing there should be 4 of this in the sideboard. I think 2 is fine, but both times I beat Nibdalite, I beat him in round 2, and then I beat him in the finals. And I beat my friend twice, and both times end game I casted both Invoke Despairs, like within 1 to 2 turns of another.
Hey, remember when the card was not banned in Standard and playing Arena all the time? We would always cast Invoke Despair, and bam, right off the top of the deck, here comes another one. And then another one.
Yeah, and we were talking about it before we started recording, and we just said even in paper, it still goes that way. Paper or digital, doesn't matter. Invokes beget invokes, and it is awesome. And it was and the deck normally for a 5-drop, it runs Aklazot's Deepest Betrayal, which it's not. That's a great card in a lot of matchups, but when you play against Nivdalite and they have like 6/6 flyers versus your 4/4 flyer, you're not really going to be attacking in. So let's just play Invoke. Why not? And and then also that deck runs Tybalt, so it's a good way to get rid of maybe hit like a Niv, a Leyline Binding, and a Tybalt. You're getting like, what is that, like 19 mana worth of spells off the board for 5 mana. Obviously that's value.
Seems
so
good.
Yes. So yeah, that's kind of how it went. The top 8 round, the quarterfinals, I played Gruul Prowess. That did go to 3 games. He was pretty good in game 2, but I just had such good removal in games 1 and 3, and then I got a Shouldred on the board on curve. It really felt like in Pioneer a lot. It's just it's like one of those, like if you keep a Shouldred on the board longer than either your opponent does, or just for enough turns, then you're eventually gonna win. Especially when you go against Gruul, because like the Gruul decks, they have like all their damage is like 2 to 3 damage, so they need like 2 spells to remove her, and they already by turn 4 they probably already played a lot of their hand,
right?
So that was a really big obstacle for them. I did get lucky that maybe they didn't draw as well as they could have, but yeah, game 3 was easy. he scooped and
Yeah.
and then quarterfinals. It was Grinning Ignis combo. I don't know if you guys have seen this in Pioneer.
Ooh. I don't think I've seen the Pioneer version, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, and this guy and the funny thing is, the last RCQ I went to, he beat me. And I was playing Waste Not, but I wasn't playing as good of a version. It runs the Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and then it runs the 0/4 1 blue mana creature that pays like 5 to venture into the dungeon. I don't ask me the name.
Okay. Wait.
It's like a defender wall.
It's a 0 drop?
It's a 1 mana. It's a 0/4.
Oh, 0. Okay.
And then he has that, and then he has
Secret Door?
Secret Door.
Man, I remember rolling my eyes at this back in AFR drafts, and it's seen playing Pioneer. What?
And then it runs Emery, the guy that lets you cast artifacts out of the grave.
Right. Yeah.
And then basically what it does is, and I think there's one other that I'm missing. It also runs Stonecoil Serpent, which is kind of hilarious.
Okay.
And basically what it does is it uses the Grinning Ignis to make infinite mana with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and then it ventures into the dungeon, and it goes to the dungeon that makes you gain a life, lose a life, and they do that like however many times they need to kill you, basically, with the Ignis.
Man, that sounds like the kind of thing that you can do in paper, that you just would never in a million years try to do on like MTGO.
Like,
how many clicks? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when I was like hearing him say, he said, I will do this, I will do this. I will proceed to do this 1 billion more times to make infinite mana and kill you by venturing into the dungeon. And the opponent would be like, okay.
if you say so.
Yeah, and the dungeon is the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which, by the way, that's the one thing about those dungeons. I always felt like back when this was in Standard, I played a ton of various venture decks, and I always felt like the Lost Mines of Phandelver was just the correct answer. Like
that was the best one. I always thought. I think
it's just so good consistently because really the third level has Dark Pool, which is accessible from any level. So no matter what else you want to do, you can hit this.
Yeah,
and it's each opponent loses 1, you gain 1. Which, if you have an infinite combo that can speed run you through this as many times as you want, well,
that's the ticket right there.
That's how you win the game.
For me, it was, I got lucky to win round 1 or game 1 against him just because he didn't find it a cauldron, so that was really clutch. And then game 2, and I actually had a Pithing Needle in my sideboard, but I ended up taking it out. I ended up not using Pithing Needle in the sideboard. Which he ran Haywire Might, so it wouldn't have mattered because Haywire Might would have just got rid of my needle.
Sure.
So whatever. But what was really helpful as a sideboard card was actually Cling to Dust.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when he would go to eat one of the creatures, when he would go to eat the Ignis, and he knew I had it too because I had it the last time we played. So the game 2 went on forever because I had to constantly hold up 4 mana to escape a Cling to Dust, to the point where I actually, because he had Leyline of Sanctity out, I actually thought seized myself.
Oh wow!
To get more cards in the graveyard to escape, I thought seized myself and discarded a Duress. So that was 2 cards in the graveyard to get to 5 to escape for Cling to Dust, because I was like, he has an Ignis in the grave. I can't allow this. I have to fill up the graveyard. And he has Sanctity, so I can't target him. So there was some 5-head play required. And I messed up the last time we played and got greedy and casted an Invoke and didn't leave up 4 mana. And he survived at 1 life and beat me in game 3 the last time. So I was like, I'm not doing it again. I'm holding up 4 mana. I will wait until I have 9 mana if I have to cast an Invoke. That's literally how it went. So yeah.
Wow.
So the game 2 went on for a while, but I ended up winning, and he just was being timid on doing it because he knew I had Cling in the grave. So, but it was like he could have ate my Cling with it, but then if I do that in response, I just eat his Ignis, and then he's kind of screwed.
Right.
And then of course I had another Cling, so it was okay, and I also had an unlicensed Hearse. So there was, So there was a lot going on.
That's wild.
And it was some big brain stuff for sure. It was some
that's
big
right.
brain stuff.
That is why I love combo decks, because the play when you're playing them, what you have to value and appreciate is so different, and when you're playing against them, the way you have to approach the game is completely different. I love that. Yeah, like
I put my thinking cap on for that one.
Yeah, I can. It sounds like it. Wow.
Listen, I always say the folks who are playing, like taking combo decks like that to tournaments, they know what the hell they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. And he's a great player.
They are the scariest people to play against because you probably don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know what they have to do, so they're already up on you in the match. So you have to like quickly figure out, okay, what's the best card? In your case, removal spell, or what card to take if you're making them discard a card. What matters that hits the graveyard or not, and how you have to work around that. And it's so difficult. Even during standard RCQ season, there were people who were taking like what is it called? It's like the Lotus card. It's like a mono blue artifact from Ixalan. And it like taps 4 mana for activated abilities and crafts into
yes.
What is it called?
Something
I don't remember offhand.
Something bejeweled, something.
Yeah, who knows?
It is the Enigma Jewel, I believe.
Enigma Jewel. There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Right.
There it is.
There was always this one person that was going to RCQs, and I would see them at every RCQ playing this deck, and I'm like, and they would go to time almost every round, and not at their fault, but the fault of the opponent for taking the time to have to read every single card. And like, what's going on here? And it's like, hey, yo, you're about to get Teferi'd and you lose. Because there's no way you know how to interact with that combo once it happens. But it's those people are the scariest, or like the one person in standard RCQ season that was taking around like the 5-color Legends deck for the longest time. There only one person playing that deck in the whole tournament, and they're there to win the tournament, right? They're there to play any of like the meta madness. They're like, nope, I'm going to take this deck. I'm confident. Good luck to the opponent for trying to recognize what I'm doing. And those are the scariest decks to play against. But you also know that if somebody's taking those decks to the tournament, they're having the time of their life. So I don't know if they care if they win or not, but they are, when they get that win, it's more satisfying.
Well, and I think most times I've seen this guy, he usually top 8s tournaments, and this is my 4th time playing against him. The first time I ever played against him, the tournament, it was Pioneer last year, and he played Mono Blue Spirits. Kind of flew under the radar with that too. Yeah, and he got that to the finals. And then I played him in the standard RCQ, and I had a couple Pithing Needles, so I Pithing Needled his Cauldron, and I was able to beat him in standard, but then I lost again Pioneer, and then I obviously beat him yesterday, so that was cool. But he does, like you said, he likes to be that one guy, and he kind of flies under the radar.
Yep.
Something unexpected, but good. He has his win cons. He knows his lines. He's an experienced player. And he will 99.9% of the time make the right decision. Right. So you have to be on your A game when you play him. I think that was like so, even though it only went to 2 games, I got a 2-0. It was so draining that I legit like almost like we were punting in the finals. I think my opponent was a little drained in the finals too, but like we were very tired. But yeah, so that was really good. And then of course, like I said, the finals that did go to 3 games. Niv Delight is just it's a tough matchup. But yeah, the Invokes getting it done, man. It was amazing.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. Good stuff. Well,
I got some stuff for my commander deck, got some tutors and a meat hook. That was my store credit.
Nice.
Not the best payouts, but that's all I'll say about the you guys know more, but I'll that's all I'll say. Not the best payouts, but like I said earlier, I wasn't there to get store credit. I was there to get an invite, which I did get. Yeah. So hopefully I'll be seeing some people in DC, and you'll
get the big dollars at the DC tournament for sure.
Yeah, that's where the actual cash is. So and I don't know like how, I don't know if the pool's already set or how that works, but I don't know like where I need to place to be in the money there. So I'll have to look into that.
Sure. But yeah. Yeah, good luck with that. Oh my goodness, we are
Thank you,
definitely going to be
guys.
keeping an eye on that because that's fantastic.
Hell yeah.
So October, that's going to be a busy month. Yeah, between that and Vegas. Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh
Good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I guess I'm definitely not going to Vegas now. 'Cause
I
I'm
mean,
doing
that would be understandable.
Hey, you could go. You could go to both. Anything is possible.
No, I think my work might kill me if I do that. So.
No,
yes.
don't worry. Say you work from remotely. It's fine.
Yes, yeah, the old adult responsibilities. It's a shame. But it is what it is. Yeah, very cool. Well, yeah, I mean that was good stuff, man. Thanks for the kind of that breakdown. So anybody out there looking to play Waste Not, in Pioneer, turns out
we can
good.
provide you a list maybe in the description to the deck that I put. I'm gonna put it on Goldfish here later today.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have links. We'll make sure to have all your links in the chat as well. And if you want to get more information or have specific questions, you can always catch Numbskull's stream. So
yeah, feel free to stop by.
Follow all that jazz.
I play it on stream a good bit, and I play it on Arena because there's literally only one card that isn't on Arena that's in the deck, and it's not like, I mean, Urborg is nice to have for mana fixing, but it's not like absolutely imperative.
Right.
Like I can still play the deck without it, so I'd usually just play it in Explorer on Arena. So you'll catch me playing that on
Nice.
Explorer a lot on Arena. Yeah,
that rules. All right. So next up, I was hoping to talk some Modern Horizons 3 because
let's do
the designs that they keep coming out with or that keep getting spoiled. Holy cow! I mean, I know that was the last set. Sorry, but whoa, like there's some heat coming. And the first one that I want to talk about is a Simic Bird Wizard, which has a lot of people wondering, kind of like, what if River Hoopu was like a legend, but also like designed today? And this is what we get. We get Nadu Winged Wisdom, who is a 3/4 flyer for 1 green-blue. So we already have overstats, because, of course, that's what you got to do now.
Oh, yeah.
And it has creatures you control have. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. This ability triggers only twice each turn.
Only twice.
Only twice. But that's per
but on
creature.
Each creature. Yeah.
No, I know. I was saying it's funny. It's only once usually, and this says no. It's only 2 times.
Second
now.
one.
Just 2 times now. Yeah.
But
I think it's great.
This card's nuts. And the other thing that's insane, a lot of people have been talking about it, and it's very true. Anything that has equip 0, like Lightning Greaves or what is it, Shaku, the the old Kamigawa equipment that nobody remembers. They have equip 0. Well, people know it now, but it has equip 0. And so the idea is you can just move it back and forth and just trigger all day. And on top of that, if you have a way to bounce something, you can actually bounce like an Ornithopter, return it back to your hand, and then put it back down, and that resets the number of times. Like, it's a new instance of the ability on the field. Like the opportunities to just like draw your entire deck and put all your lands onto the battlefield with this card, it's not even that hard to pull off.
No, even if you play like, I don't know, like, even let's say you have a lands deck and like you're the cat. We're talking about Commander anyway now, but and you play like Lightning Greaves, which is 0 to equip, and let's say you're being feisty and you're playing like a 5-color Gates deck, and you're like, man, how do I get all these Gates on the battlefield to win with Maze's End? Maybe I have some tokens out. Let me just keep re-equipping this Lightning Greaves and put all the Gates on the battlefield. GG.
Yeah. And then, the moment you add Amulet of Vigor, Spelunking,
oh lord,
or like Nissa, Lotus Cobra, any of that stuff. Like, I mean, hey everybody, we did it. We broke Landfall. We figured it out, guys. Right. But yeah, exactly. That's
imagine
insane.
equipping all the Lightning Greaves to the Scoot Swarm tokens.
Oh god. Stop it. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's amazing.
Actually ridiculous.
I believe this is why Blake called the set at the end of the last Magic Stream Commander Horizons by mistake. It had to be after they saw Nadu Winged Wisdom.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to make more and more sense.
Yeah, that's insane
for the reasoning there.
Yeah, I mean, just this card's cracked, right? I mean, can we just agree this card is insane? I mean, and it doesn't
and you
even
have to play this version of the card, right? Like the profile versions are just the best.
I mean, oh yeah. On the video feed, there is the profile version is absolutely just switch over to the profile. It's beautiful. I gotta say, because the profile shots. It's so funny. My least favorite of all the profiles I've ever seen was still the first one. Like they spoiled the Ur Dragon and it was like it was okay, but it looked weird compared to everything else that we'd seen before. Yeah. And then the more of them I see, the more of them the more I like them. And Nadu's looks good. Yeah. That's an Egyptian themed bird wizard for sure. And nuts. Freaking
It's awesome.
Nuts. So speaking of nuts. Sorry, was there any
I was
other
just
thoughts?
say the art's awesome.
For sure. Oh, you know what? Numbskull, it's very appropriate that you're here this week. Because Necro is kind of coming to Modern.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
We get Necro Dominance with this set, which is a legendary enchantment for black. Skip your draw step. Ooh. Yes, this is all sounding familiar. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life. If you do, draw that many cards. So your shielded sees those go to your hand, just saying. Your maximum hand size is 5. And if a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So, fix Necropotence? Are we safe? What are we thinking, gentlemen?
Man, I wish Grey Merchant of Asphodel was like playable in Modern. Cause like this into Shieldred into Grey Merchant is like kind of GG. But
nasty. Yeah.
Just get all the removal on your hand and like
I can see this going really well with Grief.
Yeah.
You could pick the extra copies to it.
Yeah, you're getting rid of cards anyway, probably, because you're gonna draw a bunch of cards, and then you're gonna get a free, basically Thoughtseize when Grief enters the battlefield. Seems good. Maybe it, probably in a Coffers deck it might be able to fit in there. And then with the Coffers, your maximum hand size is 5, but also like you could probably, with the mana you could generate, you might be able to just play your hand every turn.
On your end step before going to cleanup, just cast any like instant speed removal that you have. Yeah.
So I think there's some good stuff going on here.
And it's good that you brought up Coffers, because like we've already seen the reprint of Deserted Temple into Modern, and that is a land that untaps a land, which just naturally works good with Coffers. And Urborg is already in Modern. So the fact that, like you just said, hey, I can play out all of the cards in my hand that I've drawn is 100% doable when I get to keep tapping Cabal Coffers, untapping, creating the black mana.
Kind of ridiculous.
Nykthos who, like, you don't even have to do that.
But, better than Nykthos at that point, basically.
Yeah. And we just get to play Necro Shieldred, Grief. You get to even still scam. Is this the era of mono black scam instead of having to play another color with it?
I think people were talking about that yesterday.
That is one thing about Necro Dominance. One detail about the rules text here that I think is really important and is going to make it difficult to play alongside scam. The wording on it says if a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. That includes the battlefield, and it even calls out tokens. So it does shut death triggers off. Because with Necropotence, it was only if you discarded a card you exiled it. Your graveyard was kind of still online for other effects. This one, no, it shuts the graveyard off and death triggers off completely. So alongside scam, if you can scam first, get it going, then do your thing, great. But if you want to try to, not dead after all your grief later, tough luck. It went to exile. So that's kind of one little safety valve that's on it that I think is pretty important given the tools that are around it.
A little more reasonable, huh?
Yeah. Right, yeah. And I think a lot of people are going to miss that detail because their brain's probably going to like shortcut. I know mine did it at first too. Like so it's like Necro, got it. Like, that one's a little stronger. Like Anyway.
I had a friend who won a modern RCQ playing Coffers, and he was saying that he thinks he's still going to be on that this year too. So, and I don't know if it's maybe because he saw the Necro Dominance and was like, I'm just gonna I'm just
gonna
going
let this ride.
to do that again because it just got better. But I think he did say he's waiting. Like I think that might start to be a consensus here. Is like there's going to be an Eldrazi wave when MH3 comes out, and it's kind of like I mean it's similar to any set. Like there are some decks that get played a lot more heavily when the set first comes out.
Sure.
And I think that there's going to be obviously a ton of Eldrazi decks going around in the modern format, and then we're gonna learn pretty quick what's good and what's not.
For sure.
And you got to have maybe that month or two of just kind of waiting around to, and there are some people like they legit might just like not really even touch the format until it settles down.
I know as somebody who's very budget conscious, I know I wouldn't buy in right after it comes out.
He said he's not buying in until all it settles down.
Unless I think there's some dark horse that's being underappreciated and is currently cheap. If I think if I spot an opportunity like that, okay, then by all means, like
that was Bloodletter and Vein Ripper for me.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And there was shortly after they came out, I was saying the same thing about Priest of Multiverse and Natali, but I didn't, I didn't scoop a bunch of those up. Still regretting that. Anyway, But at the same time, I think you're exactly right. I think we're going to see a ton of people trying Eldrazi, and we'll, only time will tell if it's legit. And
I think there will be like a clear-cut good, quote-unquote, Eldrazi deck. Yeah. But people are going to be trying all kinds of different stuff.
Oh, sure.
And we're gonna find out which, because they're printing so many of the cards. We're gonna find out which ones are worth it. Oh
yeah. Well, and so many games like between MTGO and in-store events, people are gonna be jamming this like crazy. So we'll find there'll be good data. Now, okay, before we move on to other new preview cards, since we're on this kind of topic anyway, I'm curious, what are the Eldrazi cards that you guys are seeing in MH3 that you think are gonna drive whatever the new deck is? Are there any call outs? Maybe they can even be ones we've talked about before. That's fine. I'm just curious what you guys are thinking are going to be the real players.
That's a good question. I feel like I need to do a Google search to answer your question properly.
I personally like the new Kozilek that they spoiled for 9 mana. Kozilek the Broken Reality. It is a 9/9 for 9. Whenever you cast a spell, up to 2 target creatures, 2 target players each manifest 2 cards from their hands. For each card manifested this way, you draw a card. So this Kozilek for 9 mana gets rid of 2 cards out of your opponent's hands. Granted, it makes them creatures, but you get creatures that are equivalent in terms of base, but then they get +3, +2. So you get 2 5/4s. Your opponent gets 2 2/2s. 2 cards effectively out of their hand on cast. Kozilek doesn't even need to resolve, right? Plus, you get to draw 4 cards for 9 mana. You manifest 2, opponent manifests 2, you get 2 bigger creatures, they get 2 smaller creatures, you draw 4 cards for 9 mana.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I think it's insane. No, I agree. It's so funny too because like the new Ulamog has gotten a lot of press, and I think rightfully so, because it looks like it's big and scary, and I think it's going to be an absolute terror in Commander. But as far as which ones are going to be like competitively viable for Modern, I feel like this one is probably it just lines up a little bit better.
And you know, talking about like where it fits, like in the Modern metagame. I mean, Tron like kind of has been relevant for a little bit. There was the pro players that were playing Tron. I'll never forget. This was like a couple months ago, right? On the Modern. Oh, maybe 6 months ago. Who knows? I don't know. I lost track of time at this point. But one of the last major Modern events, there was just a ton of Tron. In spite of like the Grief scam decks being out there. And granted, Urza Tron only gets you 7 mana off the bat, which most folks were casting like the One Ring. If that's the case. But when you get to that next turn, you cast your payoff spell. What were your payoff spells you were casting before? 10 mana Ulamog, exile 2 things. Totally fine. I think you can get away with playing like a Kozilek or 2, right? When you're playing the Tron deck, it lets you get rid of 2 like unneeded cards. What am I going to do with this late game Sylvan Scrying? Answer, nothing. Or late game Chromatic Star. Oh, it's a 5/4. And I'm going to draw cards and draw more payoffs. Yeah. Exactly that. And plus now you got to remember we got the new Soul Land. That you know, Tron plus Soul Land equals Cause Like the Broken Reality. And that is Ugin's Labyrinth, I think it's called.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, hello, and this also says enters the battlefield. You may exile a colorless card with mana value 7 or greater from your hand. And then I could just tap and return it to my hand. So here I have this Soul Land in my hand. Exile the Coslick that I'm not going to be casting in a while. It saves it from being Thought Seized. Saves it from being Griefed. Now I can tap for 2 colorless mana, and here we go. Let's cycle. Let's start the whole thing. This Ugin's Labyrinth card, no shot that it's like less than $100 card for how expensive like Modern Horizons is. So like, get your hands on this card. Just keep it, unless you are one of those people who just likes, oh, let me open this $100 card. Let me sell it for cheap. Hopefully, it drops $25 in a couple weeks, and then I get to. I don't think that's the case, but I don't think it will either. It's going to be a very, very expensive card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you crack one of these, get it in plastic right away and just sit on for a minute, because unless they give it, the Soul Rig treatment and just reprint it into the ground. Like, I fully anticipate a year from now, people are gonna be screaming for a reprint of this card, and it's gonna be $100. Like, I'll be shocked if it's not. Yeah.
Yep. I've got a couple, and I think I'm sorry, I have 3 that I.
You good?
Found. Yeah. I agree with Carlos. I'll start with the one that like I want to be good. Harrogast Erupting Nullkite. I want it to be good just because it's a dragon, first of all.
Yeah.
I mean, sure.
Yeah. Second of all, I do like the emerge concept, and I figure like maybe that could work well with scam. If you already scammed out a big creature, you could seriously reduce that emerge cost and maybe cast it for super cheap. And then also, giving other creatures emerge, that's cool and all. But also nothing in hand, exile your hand. Okay, nothing's in my hand. And then draw 3 cards off of it. Seems good. If you scam out, a 7 mana red creature, if you're playing like Rakdos Scam.
Mm-hmm.
Do they do? I'm not as familiar with the format. Do they scam out Italy in Modern?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know what big creatures. Probably Flesh Gorger though. I have no idea.
All you really see, the scam decks generate lots of value just from reanimating, literally Grief.
They go for Grief
and lightning bolts and things like that. Yeah.
So you could do whichever, but you could get if you have a large creature on the board, or even if you just want to pay like, I don't know, 5 mana for it instead. 5 mana, 6/6. Draw 3 cards. Give everything a merge. You know what I mean? And you could also use it for other, what do you call it? Other Eldrazi creatures.
Yeah.
You could sacrifice this to emerge, say, Ulamog the Defiler for 1 mana.
Yeah, that ain't bad.
Yeah, it's almost like you're like breeding pooling. You could like keep chain. Well, you would chain into it. It's almost like you're, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing that I find really fascinating about Emerge specifically, and I think this actually dovetails to a point that I was hoping to make. So if you don't mind me kind of
sure, go ahead. Yeah.
So a Harrogast has Emerge 6 red, and it gives each creature spell you cast Emerge.
Mm-hmm.
I want to believe that there might be something with Emerge and Affinity. Because with that you have cards like Mirror Enforcer, or there's the Quicksilver Sojourner or whatever the new one is that is just strictly better Mirror Enforcer. But this set even is bringing a new one, Frogmere Enforcer.
Frogmere, okay.
So you could literally have 12 different Mirror Enforcers in your deck. So a 4/4 for 7. With Affinity for artifacts. Now, the reason that I call that out is because its mana value is 7. So if you can sacrifice it to emerge something, that's a massive discount. And so
you're right.
I don't know.
That's an option.
That strikes me as interesting, right?
Yeah, there's something there. And then, I was thinking then sacrificing it into Ulamog. That's my next one. I think that's going to be pretty crazy. With basically Ward as Annihilator, but except it's sacrifice, which is cool.
Yeah.
Exiling half your library. It gets counters on the highest mana value card that was exiled.
No,
so
that's exile.
In exile. Yeah, so it could be that you have too. So Carlo, you were talking about like with your Ugin's Labyrinth land, you can exile your 15 mana Eldrazi, and then it's a 22/22
22/22 with Annihilator 15. Yeah, I think that's pretty 15. Good.
So wipe the entire board and exile half your library. So I feel like and maybe it's like maybe it's Win Mori. I don't know, but it feels like it's not. It feels like it's hard to be bad.
Yeah,
it's hard for the card to be bad if it hits. You know,
what really sucks is like they had to make this card have ward to make it playable.
Right.
Because I think if this card doesn't have ward, it's just not great. And
it's just big and silly. Just to be big and silly. Yeah.
Bitter Triumph, 2 mana, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
The ETB is crazy.
I'm also, I guess, like of the camp where I hate that they're putting just like ward effects on everything, and I understand like the want for them to do that in the design space was to like filter out hexproof because they were putting hexproof on everything, but now they're just putting ward on more cards, and it's not even that like the cards are overbearing. It's like we can I guess have this conversation more if we're talking about limited, but like it sucks and when you're playing limited and you're playing a bunch of cards with ward. It's just so hard to kill all of these bombs. But from a design perspective on Ulamog, obviously like this is needed to make it playable. Ulamog is very good. I think both the Kozilek and the Ulamog are great. The other Titan, Emrakul, it'd be interesting who takes advantage of like the madness ability.
That was my next. That was my next one that I thought might be, and I also thought that might be a sideboard card too, Emrakul, because I've seen Emrakul in sideboards of other decks. I've even seen Emrakul before Karn got banned. And I believe he was in Pioneer sideboards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, sure.
So like that was an option too. So like the old the previous Emrakul. So like I could see this guy being in sideboards in modern, like if someone's making you discard a lot, okay, well yeah, I'll just discard and get a 6 mana Emrakul now and whatever, or maybe it just lights up a madness deck. Maybe you just do that now. Maybe there's some kind of madness deck coming. So we'll see.
No, if you're playing Waste Not and you've got a if you're doing that and you got a Liliana of the Veil or something online, and I have this in my hand and I'm playing Tron, it's like I'll keep my mana open, pass, go crazy.
I think some decks play Liliana in modern still, right?
I'm assuming. I know she's not what she used to be, but
yeah. And I don't know if Waste Not's a thing in modern or not. If it is, maybe I need to play it, but
it can't just about anything be a
technically yes. But yeah, so this I could see this, and maybe they had print other madness cards. Like maybe this isn't the only card in the set that has madness, and then there's some other stuff to go off of, so we can look into that too.
It's possible. Yeah. Cool stuff. Rock on.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for kind of indulging me there.
Of course.
That's the big question. They're really pushing the Eldrazi stuff, and obviously we're going to see it a ton in Limited, and it's going to have kind of an impact in the coming months. I'm just wondering, in Modern, will there be an Eldrazi deck that really shakes out at the end of all this?
Well, I think we talked about this a couple podcasts ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the last time there was an actual Eldrazi deck in Modern was the one that was playing like Eldrazi Obligator. That was that 2 in a red Eldrazi that you can pay additional mana and like threaten an opponent's creature. So you take an opponent's creature, it gets haste on a turn. There was a red-green aggressive Eldrazi deck when Oath of the Gatewatch era came out, right? And so that was super nice, and we're seeing some cards that like kind of fit that archetype in some of the commons and uncommons that they've spoiled so far.
Sure, yeah.
Because I think the Eldrazi's that they are making uncommon that have like Eldrazi Fairy or Eldrazi something else, Wumpus or whatever, like they all fit into this sort of archetype, and so I'm curious if that makes like a little bit of a comeback, something that's more aggressive, that cares about like, I don't know, making a bunch of these Scions, and then you play the Kozilek as the payoff, and you pump all your Scions +3/+2. That very well could be a thing, and you're using the Scions to ramp up to your Kozilek. Who knows? The struggle with Modern is like the power level is so high, and something that personally I haven't seen so far out of all the spoilers, and I know we're gonna talk about some more in just a moment. I still have yet to find the Renin 6 card in this set.
Yeah.
Like the card that's like breakout. Well, like what is the card that is making this set? Like, why do I want to open Modern Horizons 3? What's going to be the breakout in a card that's going to warp Modern? Because clearly the free spells aren't as good as they were in the first sets. And thankfully, because they warped the Modern format.
Right.
But, is there a card like that in this set? And I don't know that I've seen it so far.
And maybe was that, you think that was like the intention, is to just further balance the format?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is the cards in the set are going to struggle with the power level of the cards before it. Whereas we talk about power creep like all the time in Standard, like making the cards more powerful than the older ones printed. In this case, I see significantly powered down cards. So like, from a Modern perspective, is this just a set where I want 1 or 2 cards that are going to make an impact in the format, and that's it? And then Commander Horizons, everything else, who knows?
Could be.
I would love to see and hear like folks' opinions, and please comment below.
Absolutely.
Like, what's the breakout card that you see in the set that's gonna like warp the format? Do you think?
Yeah.
Because some of the previews we're about to talk about now are very powerful cards. I'm just curious if they're gonna matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I don't know. That's a great question. And it's also interesting too, because I feel like this set, they are going back to like some incredibly powerful like legacy and vintage level cards and trying to redesign them with some of the knobs tweaked a little bit to make them appropriate nowadays. Which, if you talk about a design exercise that was going to shatter stuff, I mean, that's what I would assume. But like we already talked about Necro Dominance, that just looks like a pretty decent card draw spell by today's standards. Like it's like it'll probably be good, but it's not gonna, like Necropotence. Oh my goodness! Like in our heads, we remember it as this incredibly powerful just bomb, the likes of which just doesn't exist in the game. And by today's standards, it's like, well, I've seen the One Ring. I know what we can do. So, the other question there is, we also have, there are a couple of other designs that we're going to talk about today that are based on older styles. And Birthing Pod is currently banned in Modern.
Crazy.
But we have, I'm sorry?
It's crazy that it's still banned given the Modern format what it is now.
Yeah, I feel like Birthing Pod would probably be okayed by today's standards. That's probably another discussion for another day. But they are giving us Birthing Ritual, which is an enchantment for 1 and a green. With, at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature, look at the top 7 cards of your library. Then you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, you may put a creature card with mana value X or less from among those cards onto the battlefield where X is 1+ the sacrifice creature's mana value. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it only costs 2, and it's a trigger on the end step, and you only look at the top 7 cards.
It's like rebalanced Birthing Pod, basically.
I mean, yeah, effectively, like significantly rebalanced, in my opinion. So, I don't know. Do we think this is viable? Do we think this is going to work? Is this how you fix Birthing Pod?
What's really interesting about this is you get to look at the top 7 cards without having to sack your creature, right?
True.
So if you don't want to get rid of what you have, or you don't hit a target, your creature that you have on the battlefield is safe, or you have the option to put a creature on the battlefield. I think like decks like Birthing Pod, where the deck was all built around that artifact, like what gets me my 1 to my 2 to my 3 to my 4, so on and so forth. I think if you build the right build around this deck, it might be worth it. That being said, as much as Birthing Pod is, I don't think, as strong as it was in previous Modern formats, and why I think it can be unbanned, is the same reason why this card is completely fine to exist in this format. Because there are many cards that deal with artifacts and enchantments, no matter the mana cost, that multiple decks play, whether it be in their sideboard or their main. of the format. And what's extra nice about this card is you can have multiple on the battlefield.
True.
And you can have these triggers stack. So I can hit my 2 into my 3, and then let the next ability resolve and hit my 4. Right? So if you have multiple birthing rituals in play, it only checks when the ability resolves. So I can resolve ability 1 and then resolve ability 2 and hit those triggers. And what it reminds me of, remember, in Birthing Pod used to do this, and granted, like, Kitchen Finks is just not a playable card anymore, but we went, like, Kitchen Finks into the 4-mana Goblin, the cards that had Persist, so they would come back to the battlefield and you'd be able to sack them again. Like, I would love to be able to play those cards in this type of a deck, but they're not playable anymore. So the question is, like, what is that 2 to 3 to 4 combo that you want to try to hit with Birthing Ritual that would make an effect in today's modern format? I think that's the question,
isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I'm not familiar enough with the format to answer that question, but
yeah. Well, honestly, I'm right there with you. You know, so I'm sure that some mad scientist out there is going to come up with some crazy line that's going to make this look absolutely insane.
Maybe
I mean,
just like crazy ETB stuff. That's a good place to start.
Yeah,
maybe like you know, everything has an ETB basically, and
kind of can't go wrong with that.
Every turn you get something. I don't know.
Yeah, like, could you just play this card in the Golgari Yawgmoth deck? Right? You can sack a Grist token and find Young Wolf. Sack Young Wolf, find, play Wall of Roots in that deck, or Strangle Rootgeist, which has Persist. You know, what's your 3-drop creature, though, that you then sack to go get Yawg? I don't know the answer to that, because I don't know the full deck list offhand.
Is there even one on the list right now?
Could you do that? And I think it's doable. You get to look at 7 cards every time, and you get to help, like, I don't know, sort of sift through the top of your deck for Grist to be able to mill and hit insects and stuff, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
So maybe, like, some number of copies of this card finds its way into that deck, or the card's just not as good as Court of Calling to go search for what you want. Who knows?
Well, yeah. I think maybe it's something else that's noteworthy is, like, you don't have to look at it as like, oh, you're like taking off on turn 2, because you're effectively if you play your creature on turn 1, you're still getting a turn 2 creature as well. So you actually put out 4 mana worth technically of permanents on turn 2, which usually isn't bad.
Yeah, potentially.
As long as your 2 drops in the deck are good. So from a value standpoint and an efficiency standpoint, it's fine in those regards. So I you know what I mean? But like kind of like what Carla was getting back to, does it have the power to compete with what's already out there? That's something we'll have to see.
Yeah. Honestly, I kind of love the idea of this just being a way to just upgrade a creature in the Yawgmoth deck, like, as the opportunity arises. Like, that's actually a really cool value piece. I like that a lot, actually. Well, and you're also getting information. Like, you're looking at the top 7 cards and then putting them away. So you're getting an idea of, like, okay, what is my likelihood of drawing a certain number, certain cards. That's not nothing.
Yeah, so, and cards like this help you get around Thoughtseize as well, right? Like, if I don't have the creature in my hand that's going to get Thoughtseize out, I can just find it out of my deck, and it's not a cast. It just enters the battlefield, so I ain't got to worry about it getting countered either.
I'm definitely going to be building this in Timeless in a deck that also has Brainstorm, so I can, like, tuck specifically what I want back on.
Yeah.
Trigger that. I don't know. Yeah.
I think I think that it's also like in the Yawgmoth decks, because obviously you get benefits from sacrificing creatures and things like that too. So, and you can generate some stuff. So yeah, I think Yawgmoth sounds decent.
Yeah.
And I think we could do some arena shenanigans on this with Timeless, because some of the alchemy cards have like some cool like death triggers and stuff like that too. So we could possibly create some unique stuff in the Timeless format with this card too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, every time we see a Birthing Pod style effect, somebody out there breaks it. I mean, like, the last time we saw this was literally Vivian on the Hunt, which is a 6-drop planeswalker.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And people found goofy combos with it that could result in, like, an infinite pop-off in Modern. I mean, there's a will, there's a way. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna also need to like consult because of that top 7 thing. We're gonna need to like consult some mathematicians on like what is the correct number to run to guarantee that I almost always get a hit, or like 75% of the time I get a hit.
Right.
You have to have like the exact right number of 2 mana creatures and 3 and 4 and this and that, to the point where like, are you limiting yourself now to you know, oh well, now I can't play removal spells, or I can't interact, I can't this part of the deck gets shut off now, you know, is that so that's relevant too in my 100%, because how many times are you going to whiff on this?
Well,
and you sacrifice possibly whiffing for playing cards that need to be in the deck.
Oh, exactly. Well, and it's funny you talk about the proportions, because earlier we were talking about the Waste Not deck that you played in Pioneer. You were talking about having so many 4-drop creatures in that deck was kind of a big deal, and kind of like against type or against the meta for that format, given how fast it is. Well, and we're talking that's Pioneer. The moment you go into Modern, like if I need to run 8 or 9 4-drops and like some number of 5-drops or whatever in order for this card to be really good,
that's almost too slow.
That is a steep cost. You know? Yeah,
it's almost too slow. And then it's also like, I mean, and then we were talking about like, you curve into the sack your 1-drop and then go get a 2-drop, and we get it. Like you don't have to sack the creature, right? It says you may.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, if you whiff, then yes, on turn 2 that did feel bad.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's you're actually doing a bit of a gamble every turn. But I guess thankfully you only spent 2 mana to be able to gamble every turn. So I don't know. It's kind of it's kind of it's a risky thing, but I think there's a way mathematically to figure out how to, you know, get the numbers in your favor, and hopefully still have a decent amount of non-creature spells that are effective as well.
Yeah, this looks to me like, you know, this looks like a fair birthing pod that I think is going to be probably playable, but definitely fixed. You know, it's definitely nowhere near. It's not. This is not going to be a menace. Again, I'm confident of that. All right. So there's another card that is kind of a similar design setup, where it's taking an older card that has been potentially, I don't know if it's fair to say problematic or not, and I'm trying to find the old card, and I clearly don't know how to spell it, which I'm embarrassed about, to be honest, and that is Alarin. Here we go. Target acquired, everybody, and I'm going to use the original art because it's beautiful. So, Alarin is an enchantment for 4 green. We're not getting a reprint of Alarin, but I want to set the stage. Enchantment. Any player may play a creature card with total casting cost 3 or less whenever they can play an instant and without paying its mana cost. So, all creatures with mana value 3 or less get flash, and you can free cast them. You can cast them for free. Obviously, that is insane and results in a ton of ridiculous combos. This is not legal in Modern. This was originally from Tempest. I don't believe they will ever just give us a straight reprint ever.
Nope.
However,
and
they are giving us Primal Prayers, which I think is the closest we're ever going to get, right? So it's an enchantment for 2 green. When Primal Prayers enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. You may cast creature spells with mana value 3 or less by paying 1 energy rather than paying their mana cost. If you cast a spell this way, you may cast it as though it had flash. So this is Energy Alarin. Energirin? I don't know, there's something there, but I'm not getting that from here. Yeah. Allergy? No. Anyway.
Allergen.
Yes. So but yeah, so Alarin, one of the big downsides of it was that it was universal. So if your opponent had a creature that was mana value 3 or less from their hand, they could also, free rip it, which that was potentially a problem. In this case, that's not an issue anymore. Because not only does it cost energy, but it strictly says you. So you, the controller, may cast those spells. And it's limited to the energy archetype, which is another archetype that they're pushing in this set.
Yeah.
Do we think this is going to see play? Do we think this is going to be decent?
Energy is...
I do. Yes.
Please.
No.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
You got to pay 4 mana for this card. So high mana cost given what folks are trying to do in the format early.
Sure.
2, is there some combo I can get by immediately casting after this card, two creatures with 3 or less CMC out of my hand for free, and at flash if that matters? I don't think that answer is yes, right? Given the current archetypes that exist in Modern.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of cards that let you gain energy. So yeah, you could, in essence, if you are able to draw infinite cards into your hand somehow and generate a bunch of energy early in the game, maybe it's effective. I don't know how effective this card is if you were to cast it, let's say, on turn 3, given like mana ramp creatures in the format, or just mana ramp cards. Get 2 energies, cast 2 creatures. The 3 or less CMC is definitely restricting.
Yeah.
I don't think so, honestly.
You're probably right. Yeah, I think that checks out. When I read this, I feel like there's combo potential, but I don't know. Numbskull, what are your thoughts on this? What are you thinking?
I think there's a good bit of energy cards in the set that are coming out, so I think that's definitely something that they're trying to make work. I just worry that maybe it ends up being, that mechanic that just kind of gets lost and doesn't see as much play as maybe they intended when they printed the actual set.
Yeah.
That can happen sometimes. Some mechanics they bring it back or they print it, they create it for the first time, and it's just kind of not good. But then I also I also do speak on a lot that it could be one of those cards that comes out now and doesn't see a lot of play, but something that gets lit up in the future to be good.
Yeah,
sure.
Because maybe, who knows? Maybe in like Bloomborough, maybe they bring back energy in Bloomborough or something like that. And then,
maybe there's some energy frog in Bloomborough that really just pops off with this. Yeah,
exactly. And then there's some kind of there's some kind of like new synergy with it. There's a crazy 3-drop energy thing, and then you get to cast it for free or whatever.
Remember when they banned Rogue Refiner? That card cost 3 mana, and it gained you energy and drew you a card, and they said it was too powerful and banned it.
So there you go. Maybe.
Well, here we have it, folks.
Who knows? So maybe you get you get your nerfed Rogue Refiner in Bloomborough, and it's a frog.
Yeah,
and then,
or a bear, or a fox, or
something.
Because they seem to be doing somewhat of a theme of rebalancing banned cards and giving them to us in this set. So
does seem to be a thing.
Who knows?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned Rogue Refiner because I feel like that's exactly the kind of thing you want to be throwing out with Primal Prayers, right?
Oh yeah,
keep the energy coming, and that makes sense. But yeah, Carl, I think honestly your point's dead on. Where it's very expensive, it needs to give you really good value right away. And so, what 2 creatures could you theoretically drop in with the 2 energy it gives you that could generate enough value to be worth this? And like in general, like what I'm looking for is something that can win it on the spot. Maybe something like a Grinning Ignis that's able to do crazy loops by
what I would have rather seen them like reprint into this set, like in place of something like this, and honestly, it probably would have shook some things up, and it's fine. Given they reprinted like 40 some cards from older formats into Modern, why not just give us Natural Order in Modern? To be honest, with the power level, I don't know that Natural Order would be broken, but if I had to pick a 4-mana card to put into this set, versus this card, it would be Natural Order.
Huh?
Because let's be real, if somebody's Natural Ordering on turn 3 in Modern, are you telling me that is more powerful than like grief scamming you? Because I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
And it would give like a different like archetype of a deck to come to fruition in the format, I think. What am I gonna do? Go get a Crater Hoof Behemoth or something? Like you want the commander players to come and play Modern, which clearly is what this set is targeting, in my opinion. Right. Just give them Natural Orders.
Straight up, actually.
Tell the natural order player who likes to combo off a natural order commander to come over and bring their deck into Modern and reprint them a card that they want. It would be significantly better than Primal Prayers.
Yeah, I don't hate that. It's so funny because Natural Order is an absolute house, and with a target like Atraxa, which we all know is absolutely insane. Like, it's so funny because my immediate reaction is like, they could never do that. That's absolutely nuts. But then the moment you ask, like, well, is that more busted than Grief Scam? It's like, what?
You can put Atraxa into play on turn 3 in Modern. You can Goryo's Vengeance that thing from the yard and gain infinite cards in your hand.
Yeah, so honestly,
somebody's natural order in me, I'm giving them a handshake after the match. Like, yes, fine.
Yeah. That's wild. Well, yeah, because your natural order also has to just survive the grief scam,
counterspell. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and all the counterspells exactly. So yeah, no, I don't hate that actually. Yeah, but yeah, Primal Prayers. If you have an energy deck in Commander, here's another toy. You kids have
that
fun.
is a commander toy, yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep. Cool. Commander toy. I'm gonna start using that phrase more. Yeah, this is a commander toy. There's nothing wrong with commander toys. Let's just know what they are. Speaking of a commander toy that I also think is a card that might see competitive play, but actually I'm really curious what you guys think about it. Warren Soul Trader. Yeah. This is a zombie goblin wizard. We got 3 amazing creature types already.
Love it.
3/3 for 2 and a black. Pay 1 life. Sacrifice another creature. Create a treasure token. So what if Phyrexian Altar was actually kind of a little better almost and a goblin? How do we feel about it?
Sounds great to me. I mean, not saying there's like many goblin decks out there. There are the occasional. Used to see goblin bushwhacker decks all the time in Modern before the significant increase in power level of cards.
Right.
But this speaks to me as like, okay, well, my goblins basically survive any wrath spell that you might have. If you're generating your goblins into treasure tokens to continue to be able to cast cards. Sounds great. I mean, it's a 3/3 for 3.
Yeah.
So take that for what it is.
Yeah.
Are there any effects that I want, like creatures ETBing that have to do with the zombie or goblin relevant creature types? Because this definitely slots into a zombie or goblin deck, right? You could just do that.
Now that I think about it, is this part of a combo with the prayers? I don't know, because it's a 3-drop creature. Anyway, but
it could be.
It could be. There might be something there.
Because I looked at it right after we talked about Yawgmoth. Like, could it work with Yawgmoth?
Yep.
And like get some kind of like extra mana loop and possible infinite mana. Who knows? I don't know.
Right.
Are you saying I can turn my Young Wolf into mana and also put it back on the battlefield and tap it again for Convoke and then sack it again for more mana?
Exactly.
Correct. Because this is unrestricted and the treasure tokens are untapped. So
and this works really well with the Birthing Ritual card that we just talked about, because then here's my 3-drop that I need to Birthing Ritual into Yogg.
Yeah, there's your 3-drop.
Nailed it. Yep, perfect.
Yeah. Did we just build a Yawgmoth deck on the podcast?
No, I don't know how to build decks.
Oh, okay. Well, good thing Ham and I are here.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, yeah. Honestly, the one thing that I see a lot of people commenting about with this card, like on social media and stuff, is they're talking about how it'll just go infinite with a ham sandwich, and like there are just so many, which. It's at the end of the day, it's a sacrifice outlet that goes mana positive. We all know how busted that is. The fact that you have to pay a life, like, is a limiting factor. Like, that is something you need to keep in mind. But like, 1 Blood Artist effect, and that just gets mitigated. So whatever. True. Like, I'm sure it's not that hard to, to work around that, or even that, or in Commander, obviously, starting life total of 40, whatever. You can burn a handful of those and not think anything of it.
I'm excited to put this card in my Vihan Goldwaker Commander deck.
There you go.
Because we can generate treasures that become 3/3s, but also this card seems to work really well with Revel and Riches in Commander, because then I can sack my board and kill you with the treasure token auto win con.
That seems real good. That seems real good.
Commander Horizon.
Commander Horizon, yes. So yeah, I mean, if you're doing any kind of aristocrat kind of thing, like this is it does the thing, you know. Sacrifice a creature, make mana. That's just great. We love that. Yeah. So
yeah, it's fun. It sounds like if I was gonna play a modern deck, it sounds like Yawgmoth would be a fun deck to play.
I'm with you on that.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if you were playing a mostly black deck.
Yeah, it's just I think either like the coffers or Yawgmoth would be my choice.
Yeah,
I think that's what I'd be going for.
I tell you,
the
coffers deck. Watching people play it in paper Magic, mostly for Karn the One Ring, is super fun to watch the people play it because it's possible. You know, I don't know how competitive like the deck is, but when I can make a bunch of, tell me the last time you heard of a mono black deck in Modern, and the answer is it hasn't existed in quite some time.
Yeah.
So you know, coffers definitely making a mono black deck playable in the format seems sweet.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm interested.
That sounds dope. All right. So there is one other card that I wanted to touch on. And this one's probably going to be pretty quick because we actually kind of touched on what the thing about it that I enjoy the most. So there's a card called Crabomination. Honestly, just the name alone. Like that's just Crabomination. That exists.
Beautiful.
It's a 5/5 for 4 black with Emerge from Artifacts for 5 black. When Crabomination enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles the top card of their library. A card at random from their graveyard, and a card at random from their hand. You may cast a spell from among cards exiled this way without paying its mana cost.
Atali, here you are, my friend.
Kinda,
my boy.
yeah. Similar vibe. Except you're stripping a card out of your opponent's hand and a card out of their graveyard, which may be relevant. So they don't get those back, even if you don't cast them. And then you get to pick one of the 3 spells. So yeah, it's like if Atali was a black crab demon with Emerge from Artifacts of all things, which is kind of interesting.
I also I think it's funny because we were talking about last week how they were starting to put the puns into the regular format cards now, and you know here's a direct example of that.
Right.
But aside from that, the card seems awesome. I'm not saying the card's like unserious, at least in regards to play text in any way. But yeah, great ETB cost. Good birthing ritual target actually, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So yeah, just keep it going. But yeah, so that's super fun. And so you just have to sacrifice an artifact. I see. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I'm sure there are plenty of ways to make that good.
Oh my goodness.
You could have like a Might Stone and Weak Stone out. That's 5 mana. I don't know what other artifacts come out, but that's 5 mana right there, and 2 mana for this guy.
I mean, of course, I think Affinity. So I think like Frogmite, so that you can pay 3 for the emerge cost. Like,
or you could just sack Mirror Enforcer and just pay double black. Like,
also
that's totally fine.
And that's why the double black's in the emerge cost, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Because if it was just like 7 generic,
it would be too broken if it was just regular like 7.
That'd be nuts.
Yeah. Agreed. But yeah, I'm totally cool with it. I think it also, if he was an artifact, it might be even more broken because then you could lower the emerge cost further. Good. So it's probably for the better that it's not an artifact. I love having a crab demon. I think that's great. And I think it's cool. It's just I mean, you're doing it in a format where it's like very high powered, and I guess you're almost guaranteed to hit something, but it would suck if like I guess there is a situation where you could hit like 3 lands.
Yeah, I mean, you could also, at worst, I'm thinking that this card hits like a removal spell, right? Like, emerge this card, get a 5/5 body in play, cast opponent's removal spell, take out like the top creature, top whatever on board.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
Because you don't get to choose the graveyard card, so I guess you just have to hope that they're not discarding lands or milling lands into the grave, because then maybe you just get like a decent graveyard, decent, like you said, removal spell in the grave, or like maybe you get like a Thoughtseize or something or whatever.
Now I'm curious, what's the method? Like, what is the official method for choosing a card at random from a graveyard?
You got to shuffle the graveyard.
You do shuffle the graveyard? Because
Yeah,
I know
shuffle and turn them all face down, right? And then
that makes sense. And I know that's what you do with your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where you shuffle them all face down and then like lay them out and have the opponent pick one. It's like I know how that's often used. Just with the graveyard, I know that we haven't seen a card that cared about graveyard order in forever, and definitely not in any of the formats where Crabomination is going to see play. But I was just curious if that was something like if I'm playing Vintage and I want to play some weird rogue Crabomination deck, am I going to get in trouble for shuffling my graveyard?
Yeah,
yeah.
Just don't shuffle it into your library.
That would be an issue. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think as long as you do that, you're probably fine.
Okay.
Because
I'm just curious.
I think, and it may be something where I don't know. It might not see a ton of play, but it may be something where if you feel weird about it, or if you feel like your opponent's going to try to do something sneaky, you could like call a judge over to watch them do it if you really need to. Yeah. Or just even ask the judge, hey, what is the best way that you want me to do this?
Yeah.
That doesn't make it seem like I'm trying to pull a fast one or, whatever.
Right. I mean, worst case scenario, you could just even lay them out and just roll a die equal to the, yeah,
you could do that.
So something like that would probably be fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. Just a thought. I'm overthinking things because graveyard order I know hasn't mattered in like 26 years or something like that as far as this game is concerned.
Yeah.
So I know modern card design doesn't really take it into account anymore, but there are some old cards out there that somebody might have, in certain formats. Sure. I know in modern, I'm just shuffling the graveyard. If you have a problem,
what's the one Reanimator card that was errated? Because it was like pick the top two creatures of your graveyard.
Oh, I have seen that one, but I don't recall.
I think that was like the last card I remember that actually cared about the order, but then it didn't. They made it so it didn't matter anymore, and it could pick any cards.
Yeah,
because you could reorder your graveyard. I don't know, something. This is a while ago, but it mattered for Commander, and they had changed it. I don't want to say it was Victimized. I don't think it was Victimized. Victimized says choose any two creatures.
Right, yeah,
I feel like there was another Reanimator spell that did the same thing like Victimize, but it said like the top two creatures of your graveyard. But again, that only matters for Commander.
Is it Shallow Grave? Is that the one? Put the top creature card from your graveyard into play as
there you go.
Yeah,
top
creatures.
creature.
Yeah, and move for the game at the end of turn. So yeah,
but now this can pick anything.
Well, actually, the Oracle text I'm seeing on Scryfall says return the top creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's still against haste and exile the next sunset.
Yes, but nothing stops you from reordering your graveyard.
Is that the new rule?
In the rules, yeah.
Ah, okay.
So I could just take my graveyard and sort it however I want.
Then in that case, yeah, okay, groovy, cool. I didn't realize that was the rule change. I love it.
A little broken, yeah.
Cool, interesting stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that's one of those little things that I spend entirely too much time thinking about this game, so those are the kind of things that keep me up at night. But yeah, Crabomination.
And plus, Ham, I heard you just like to cast like crab cards.
I do.
Right?
I'm a big fan. Cherix is just my favorite. I'm not gonna lie. Also, I gotta say, back when it was standard legal, Ruin Crab on Arena was amazing for one very simple reason. If you turn 1 Island Ruin Crab, it does not matter what the rest of your deck is. Your opponent will assume you are on Dimir Rogues and would usually just scoop to you right there and right there. Yeah. I had a lot of weird
people run like 4 Evolving Wilds, 4 Fabled Passage, and then you're milling like 6 cards on turn 2, and then the next turn they're casting the Cacophony, and it was getting out of hand.
that mill deck was pretty brutal, and it was at a time when Draw the Lock was legal. I get it, I do. But I had so many like weird like big butt crab style decks, and I would like my hand was full of absolute garbage. But it was a turn 1 Island Ruin Crab because it was an 0-3. It's an 0-3 for 1. What?
And then they spice it up by also all the rest of the creatures is just like the Dimir Rogues deck.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like, Jesus, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, that's right. Top Thief. Let's go. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of crabs, I still want to figure out how to break a cool the 4-mana crab, and I don't know how to do it. I tried it, and it's just there's just better things on turn 4. That's the issue.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
Yeah, it's actually a scorpion is the idea, but those claws definitely look crab-like.
Scorpions are crabs, aren't they?
I'm sorry.
it's okay.
When I say crab, if you look at the original print of it, which was in Japanese when they spoiled it, for a while it was being referred to as crispy crab a cool, because that's what the Japanese direct translation was from that kanji text. Yeah. Sorry, that's why I was calling him a crab. But yes.
No, that's great. I'm here for it. That's awesome. All right, cool.
So I apparently all of that means crispy crab a cool from what they translated. So they translated the rest properly. But yeah, so it was just kind of funny based on all that. So I was like, all right, that's a cool card. But yeah, so I would like to figure out how to break it. It's just unfortunate that I know you play like Reenact the Crime a lot, and that pretty much would like whatever you want a cool to do, Reenact the Crime can just do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just easier to cast that and get your free spell.
Yeah. At the end of the day, yeah, in my experience, like the idea behind a cool is really fun. I haven't quite figured out the shell that really makes him pop either, or where it's just even remotely worth it. Because in order to have a lot of creatures on the battlefield, you have to be doing some kind of token strategy. The cards like Lethal Demolition are pretty good for that. But if you're doing that, why wouldn't you want just a couple of anthems to go wide, Boros Convoke style?
Yeah.
Why would you then have this and then also have a big monster in your hand that's worth putting out with this? It's just, it's asking a lot in a world where Reenact the Crime or, Breach the Multiverse, like Cruelty of Gix, any of that jazz. You also have the Smuggle Surprise. For 6 mana, you can be cheesing 2 things onto the battlefield just straight up.
I think his casting cost limits things a lot too.
Definitely,
because now you a lot of people are like for ramp they're playing like Iron Crag to get him out on turn 3, but you can't do that with Iron Crag. It's colorless mana, so you're missing out on that lack of early mana fixing. And a lot of times they're creatures, but you don't want to sack the creature to do the thing, so it's like I don't know. So it's tough. It's tough.
It's tough. I want to find a way to.
I would like that to be a thing, even if it's not quite as good as a Reenact the Crime. Just like make it worth it in some way, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah,
rock on. So that was a little bit of a tangent, but when it comes to various crab themed shenanigans and other Modern Horizons 3 action, we've got a lot coming up as far as kind of the rollout for it. Fun fact, it's actually going to be hitting. Fun fact, this set is actually coming out. I believe the pre-release weekend, or is it the official release, is actually on my birthday this year, June 7th, which I'm pretty excited about. All right, check it out. Wizards you shouldn't have. Oh my goodness, got me a present. But yeah, and so leading up to that, there's going to be a streamer event on the 5th, so June 5th, that Wednesday, prior to the big release. We have a streamer event where people are going to be able to play Historic, Timeless, and Draft, as well as Sealed, I believe, of Modern Horizons 3. And if I'm not mistaken, I know I'm going to be in there. Carlo, I know you're in there. Numbskull, did you get... I'm sorry to put you on the spot here. I'm sorry.
I sadly did not.
Oh, we need... Okay.
Yeah, sad reacts only.
We need to write some letters. Anyway.
Yeah.
We need to get you in there, man.
Maybe after I won yesterday, my Twitter clout will get me further consideration.
There you go.
Hey, yo.
You'll love to see it. Very good. So I'm sorry. That was incredibly uncool. I should have figured that out before.
No. It's okay. It's okay.
My bad. But yes. a lot of streamers are going to be live during that. We're going to be doing all kinds of experimentation, testing out all these new cards. And it's always fun too, because during the streamer events, you see new decks being experimented against new decks. So it's very much a kind of a Wild West scenario.
Yeah.
One little PSA, don't walk away from an early access event going, oh my goodness, this deck clearly, it went undefeated. It's clearly amazing. It's like, well, be aware of what it was going up against. It may be good. I'm not saying it's not, but wait until it gets tested against the meta. But
certain rules of engagement and etiquette in early access that
absolutely
you understood. You don't play crazy overpowered stuff, and you don't do too much removal. You don't play all the counter spells, this and that. Because we want to see the cards doing stuff.
There's kind of a sporting agreement to let.
And also, they want you to play the new cards. So whereas it might not be the most optimal build for the format that you might be seeing in Historic or Timeless, the whole point is to play the new cards. So like,
yeah.
Are we gonna be upset if somebody casts a mana drain against us in Timeless? Probably, especially if you mana drain my Ulamog. But
into your Ulamog.
right. But like you'll probably see all the Eldrazi Titans be just like flung around everywhere, right?
Heck yeah.
I mean, hello.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm gonna be reenacting a Ulamog and Kozilek. You better believe it. Anyway.
I mean, personally, like for me, I don't normally create historic or timeless content. I know there's some folks that sometimes submit decks for me to play on stream in those formats, or like want to battle in those formats. So I would love for like those folks to submit decks like I normally do, to be able to play. But I think that this draft format is actually going to be very fun to play. And I considering the RCQ season is Pioneer, I mean, stores will also have the ability to choose to do sealed. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw like some Modern Horizons 3 sealed events for RCQs. And I'm sure that folks are going to want to draft it. And, there are great draft content creators out there. We have a couple of them on our team, right? Isaiah MTG does lots of draft content, Headology Magic, Just Lola Man, Damien drafts a lot.
Yep.
So like you'll be able to catch them and, truly what the experts, I always call them the gurus because I learned how to draft through them. So, this gives us an opportunity to play against the gurus at kind of like an even pace because I don't have to pay to enter every draft. I could just keep drafting. So that's a good thing. And then we can find out what cards that we like to play from the draft. So that's definitely going to be good. I plan to do a bunch of drafting for the streamer event. How many times can I cast a Ulamog or Kozilek in sealed or draft? Like, hello.
We should just have like a Titan count going. Like, how many times have we resolved the Titan? Let's go.
Cast this one.
And if you didn't like your seal pool, you could just like keep resigning and then just keep rolling it until you
go again.
A sick
That's
pool,
kind of like Thunder Junction draft. If you don't open up good green cards in your pool that are balmy, you just concede and go to the next one.
Anyway. So just take your 600 gems and start over.
Save the time and move on. Yeah.
Sorry, Arena Open enjoyers. It is what it is.
Oh my goodness.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know there's an LGS near me was talking about doing a pretty big pool for like a serious sealed thing for MH3. I think they were talking about like you win 3 boxes.
What are you paying? $150 to enter?
I think it is a decent entry.
Yeah.
I think they were planning on having like probably close to 100 people do it. So I would imagine in that case maybe like $50 a person.
I think most pre-releases right now are costing like $50 to $60 to play in because they have the ability to do
just for pre-release.
So pre-release weekend is that same weekend, the weekend of the 7th, and most stores who are just doing like the pack per win thing, just because of the high cost of the product, are like charging like $50, $60. If charging more than that, they're actually just gouging you. And that gets you 6 packs plus the promo card and a pack per win. So that's just showing you like how expensive the set is.
It might be like 80 to 100 then in that case. Actually,
yeah, because you figure if you're playing for boxes, boxes ain't cheap either.
I think the boxes are like $250.
Yeah. If you can get it for less than $250, probably worth it to pick up a box or two if you're planning to play like those formats or you want any of those cards. Because you just know right out of the back. I mean, the box is going to pay for itself as soon as you open one of those soul lands, right? Like the Labyrinth or something more. That's totally a thing.
There are a few hits that would just have it paid for damn near.
Yeah, probably.
And if you open up foil, like hello,
of
those cards,
foil
is very good.
Showcases. Oh yeah, that's go a long way.
And there are serialized Titans, but only in the collector packs. Let's not forget that.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, in addition to the Arena streamer event, there is a Magic Online first time ever streamer event happening, also on the 7th. And its focus is going to be Modern Leagues, or Draft, or Sealed.
Heck yeah.
So you will see that happen on the 7th. There is extended time for that. We'll have those details. I think we have to wait to publish the time till officially Magic Online publishes the times. But it is definitely happening. So if you want to check out some Modern action, that is the day to do it. We're supposed to be playing Modern Leagues with the newer cards, so like exactly doing what Modern Horizons is supposed to test. on how it affects the format. I know I'll be streaming that over on my channel on the 7th, so
Heck yeah.
make sure to check it out.
Oh, definitely have to pop in for
Yeah.
that. Is it just me, or is it like it blows my mind this is the first time there's an MTGO streamer event, just because that program's been around for so long, and the people have been streaming it for an incredibly long time.
A while, yeah.
So I just got like Daybreak and the team that's handling that, killing the game right now, doing a phenomenal job of supporting this community in a way that to see MTGO get that kind of love and support. I'm not a huge fan of the client, but that's a software thing. I love the community and everybody doing what they're doing. It's awesome. Yeah, guys, keep doing what you're doing. Just kick butt. We appreciate it.
And then in addition to that, the official release weekend of Modern Horizons 3 is the weekend of the 14th, even though the cards are legal on pre-release. And that date is important because there are Command Fests happening that weekend. So if you were looking to get in some Commander action with the new Modern Horizons 3 cards, or Commander Horizons as we call it, you definitely want to check out some of the Command Fests. I personally will be at Command Fest Atlanta with a bunch of other content creators, so we will be there throughout those days, and I got to boost my decks up a little bit, my Commander decks with the newer cards and stuff like that. I'm bringing Planeswalkers, so if you want to fight against the Planeswalker decks, good luck. But
disclaimer, just don't even sit down, guys. It's not.
I need to speak in Carlo's defense. For the record, he's one of the fastest Planeswalker players I've ever witnessed. So
true.
Yes,
he knows exactly what he's doing.
He'll take 3 dozen game actions in a turn, but it's going to go by way faster than you realize.
True.
So
yeah.
That helps a lot.
But I'm bringing my Atali Primal Conqueror deck, and I'm gonna juice off Vihan over here, the Goldwaker, because I really like that commander. And I'll probably be bringing I'm going to bring a PDH deck, so if anybody wants to play Pauper Commander, I finally have a deck for that format.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff happening that weekend. I don't know if the schedule itself has been published yet. It's possible that it's not, but possible that it is. But we do have times for meet and greets and stuff like that. Personally, you can catch me Friday at 11 a.m. And on Saturday at 3 p.m. and Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have special meet and greet commander times there in Atlanta, so you can come stop by and say hello. I'll be rooming with my buddy JM from Trying Casually Games, so we're gonna have a good time for the whole weekend.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Very cool. All right. So one kind of new tradition that we've brought in, Damien kind of introduced this idea a few weeks back of ending on kind of a question to help you get to know us, or at least some of the ways that we approach the game and think about things. And last week we had a question of if we could have one keyword in real life, what would it be? And that was a fun discussion.
Yeah, that was fun.
So I'm thinking for this one, unless you guys have something, if anybody has something on the tip of their mind that would definitely get us going. Otherwise, one thing that I'm noticing with these new sets is they're putting a ton of old keywords that we haven't seen before, or that we haven't seen in a very long time, all of a sudden show up on 1 or 2 cards. Like Emrakul having Madness. Granted, Madness we've seen a couple of times recently, so that's maybe not the best example, but it's one of Madness and there's not even room for a reminder text on the card. It's just there. You guys know what that is, whatever. I'm curious, what are some older mechanics that aren't getting this treatment that you guys would kind of like to see? Do you each have a mechanic from the past that you'd like to see them bring back in one way or another? And feel free to get as weird and obscure as you want, because there are a couple out there.
Yeah, I liked the X land walk, island walk, swamp walk.
Ooh, yes.
I feel like that hasn't been a thing in a long time. I think I saw a Modern Horizons card actually have this ability, and I know that it's kind of just replaced, as in you don't have to pay for it anymore. Now it's just free, but Extort, yes. Extort was a decent one.
Yes,
and with all the ways to make extra mana nowadays, it feels like that could be good again.
Yeah, actually, the new Sorin kind of like out of nowhere. Has extort, but like that's a great example of kind of an older mechanic that we don't see often that just like showed up and it's like, oh, by the way, there's extort now. It's like, oh, sure.
Also, I'm loving the idea of these creature one side, planeswalker on another side, planeswalker cards.
The flipwalkers are so good.
I'm actually really enjoying that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you guys like talk about that on a previous episode in the spoilers?
We touched on it a little bit, but we haven't really.
I got
you know, maybe that'll be a whole other episode.
Yeah, because I think that's great considering all the D-Spark stuff. It's very like on brand and aligns with the story well. I also just love the idea of Sorin being an actual creature. I think that's fun.
Yeah. Sorin is a creature with a type line
human and not a vampire.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
I was actually really enjoying, even if there's a Teferi one, whatever. I was just, you know, there's something for everybody in that. So that seemed fun. You know, I always love to see a new Sorin in any format. So
love it.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off topic, but yeah,
no, you're good, man. You're
good. Or any of the walk things. I think.
Yeah, the land walks. Yeah.
One I would love to come back is Champion. We saw that in Lorwyn block, and one of my favorite cards during that block was Mistbind Click, because you had the ability to champion a fairy.
Okay.
So if for y'all who don't know what the champion ability was, it basically was when the creature enters play, you sacrifice it unless you remove another fairy you control from the game, and when the card that has championed it, so like Mistbind Click, leaves, the other creature comes back to play from exile.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know you get a I don't want to say protector, more of like a resistor to like removal spells by playing cards like this. But also with the fairway of you can turn these off if you get rid of it, something that they could champion and they don't have the ability to champion again, which made Mistbind Click a fair card. You also had like Ren's Runs Packmaster or something, I think was part of this champion cycle. There was a green card, I'm pretty sure it was an elf. Or it was like champion and elf.
Yeah, Ren's Run Packmaster. Yeah. Nailed it.
Yeah. And these cards were great. They haven't used the champion mechanic really since. I think maybe occasionally they've put them into commander decks. So I would be interested to see, you know, since they said in 2025 supposedly we're going back to Lorwyn, if they revive the champion mechanic at all, because I would love to see it.
That'd be a great opportunity. Yeah, now you may think, folks, that like the champion mechanic sounds like a downside, right? You have to remove something. Like I have to give up another creature in order to put this one in play. And yes, but yeah, DeCarlo, to your point, you're kind of O-ringing it, right? So once the one creature leaves, the other one comes back. So like that's a fun way to play around board wipes and removal and that kind of thing. And take advantage of ETB triggers, all those kinds of all that good stuff. But Ren's Run Packmaster is actually a really great example. This came out in like 2004 initially or whatever. Like this is an old card. It is a 5/5 with upside for 4. By today's standards, that's not super incredible or super impressive. At the time, that was like unheard of.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you have to give up another creature, you're still getting like a big stat boost, and it can generate tokens or whatever. So like this is a card that if it didn't have champion would probably cost, at the time, I don't know, 7, like you know, like 6 at least. And so, but it only costs 4 because you're championing. That's a cool.
And Mistbind Click was huge because fairies was such a popular standard deck at the time. You know, you could flash in your Vendilion Click one turn, you know, get rid of a card from your opponent's hand, and they draw another one. But then the next turn, you could on their upkeep flash in Mistbind Click, tap their land, so you time walk them for a turn. Mistbind Click enters, and if they kill the click, you get your old click back and take another card of theirs out of here. And if you didn't have that, we're talking about the same standard format that Bitter Blossom existed. So you would make 1/1 fairy tokens and champion that with Mistbind Click, and stuff was Nutter Butters.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and it's got flash. Oh, that's incredible. Incredible. Yeah. No, that's a great one. I love it. Yeah. For me, the mechanic that I would love to see brought back, I don't think we're ever going to see it because it probably complicates combat in a way that people don't like. And no, I'm not about to say banding. Like Rampage. Does anyone remember Rampage?
Oh, yeah.
Hello,
I
yeah.
do.
Yeah, so the card would have Rampage and then a number. So Craw Giant is the example that I brought up. It's a 6/4 for 7, which like with trample, but it has Rampage 2. So whenever this creature becomes blocked, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn for each creature blocking it beyond the first. And so Rampage is especially good on tramplers because if you're in the case of a Rampage 2, if I put additional 1/1s to try to chump block this thing, it just grows. And so it really doesn't accomplish anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it makes trying to block, trying to gang block Rampage creatures is very difficult. And I think that's kind of a fun idea. Again, I'd be surprised if we ever see it again, but it was one of those, it predated Bushido by a whole lot, and I definitely prefer it to that. The idea of having a check against gang blocking is something that we just don't, like, that's just not a thing anymore. And, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of fun.
True. I guess now, instead of that, they just make the creature a freaking 12/12, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean,
for 7 mana. Now the 7 mana creatures are just like 10 power or more, so they're just like,
right.
It's built-in Rampage. It's okay.
Or they just give anything with 3 or more, or 2 or more power Death Touch. So it's just like, we'll just take out multiple things if you block with them. So yeah.
Another one last one I'll throw in, and this is me being a mono black player. I'd like to see Revolt be on more things.
Ooh, okay.
The way Revolt is on Fatal Push, and how many permanents you have that, like, token wise, that come onto the board, clue tokens, blood tokens, map tokens, power stones, whatever else. How much removal there is in the format, treasure tokens. If we could, and it doesn't, Revolt doesn't only have to pertain to removal. It's just you get added value if a permanent left.
Right.
For you could put it on any card to make any card better.
Ooh.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you could. It's an easy way for them to just incentivize. Oh, crack your clue token, or use a treasure to cast this, or whatever.
Yeah. The thing about Revolt that I really enjoy is the play around. Obviously, if you have fetch lines, if you have treasure tokens, those kinds of things, triggering Revolt is pretty simple. But the number of times that I've been playing in like Historic or Timeless, and my opponent does not have any of those resources available, but I have like a 4-drop creature down, and like I'll bounce one of their creatures or I'll kill one of their creatures, and then afterwards they fatal push my thing. And like that's the perfect example of kind of what the flavor of Revolt is trying to do, right? It's like, you're gonna push me down, you're gonna hurt me, while we're gonna be able to push back harder because you did. And
I think it creates unique interactions sometimes.
It absolutely does.
Like sometimes it seems like bait. Like I attacked into a creature with a 2/2 zombie yesterday, and the opponent was like, I block, and I was like, okay, fatal push. Yeah, and I thought I was telegraphing it, honestly, but they took the bait. So
some people forget about these cards, like just in general. They're like, wait a minute, Revolt is Pioneer legal, and like,
yep.
And I guess sometimes it's like a make you have it, but it's Revolt is, I think, I don't know, and this may be my lack of knowledge of other Eternal formats. I don't know how many other cards I've seen Revolt on, at least in cards that are played in.
Not many
in competitive decks. It feels underutilized, doesn't it?
For sure.
There's probably unexplored design space there. Absolutely. Well, I talk about, opportunities for free spells being able to, maybe that's...
Don't do that.
Or, this spell costs 2 less to cast.
Cost reduction associated with
Revolt could be 1 or 2 less.
I don't know, there's, I'm sure there's some examples out there.
Eventually they'll have a counter spell. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. Revolt, counter target spell if you had a creature leave the battle, or if you had a permanent leave the battlefield. I'm sure they'll make a counter spell out of it too. They're gonna give everybody something eventually with it.
The common 2 mana never mana leak again card.
I would love to see Revolt, even if it is used to hurt me.
They did actually. There is a card with a Revolt on it in Modern Hearts 2, appropriately called Aether Revolt, adding to the pantheon of cards with a set name. Cool. Which is kind of fun. Anyway, we don't need to go into the details there. It's another one of the energy payoffs.
Is that MH2 or is that 3?
This is 3. Sorry, this is one. This is upcoming. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I misspoke.
Nice. No, it's all good. Okay, so maybe they're slightly working it in.
Maybe
I'll take it.
well, that's one of the things that's fun about Modern Horizons and these sets that aren't plane locked is that they can do that kind of thing. They can see like, okay, what was the mechanical identity on Kaladesh? Like, well, that was energy and revolt.
Yeah.
Well, do we have any opportunities to bring those in here? You know, that kind of thing.
So, I'm glad that they did that. So
yeah,
I guess we'd be looking for like maybe if we ever go back to Kaladesh, that would be something where we would see more revolt then.
Probably, yeah. If we make a return to Kaladesh, then I'm sure we'll see more revolt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or some sort of like against authority arc type of thing, where it isn't just like the most remembered card is one where we're getting like the this is Sparta vibes, but it's like no, this is a Wendy's kick into the pit type of a thing,
right?
But yeah, I if we ever get into that type of an arc, and I'm curious. If it's something that just might happen in like another like straight to modern set rather than a standard set.
Yeah, it could be.
Hey, maybe we see some revolt cards in Assassin's Creed. We don't know, but who knows?
That could be fun.
Possible. Yeah. Flavorfully, that could work. Yeah, very cool. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. This has been a really great conversation. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. It's fun.
Yeah, going through. And on our way out the door, let's go ahead and let people know where they can find you on the interwebs. So we have the upcoming events. Links are in the description, by the way, for all of our things. Feel free to check those out. And Numbskull, where can people see you on the interwebs and what can they expect to see when they get there?
Catch me twitch.tv/num_skull_. And you see me on this podcast every now and then. We also have the Black Council podcast. If you search the Black Council podcast on YouTube, I believe it'll come up. It's on Jay's channel. Jay's my podcast partner, good friend to the channel. And then, I mainly just stream. I don't do a ton of YouTube. But yeah, when you come in, you're going to see me probably playing Mono Black, but I do draft sometimes. And I play a lot of Explorer and Standard. I do play Alchemy every now and then. Sometimes there's a cool card that I like. And yeah, you'll see me doing that. You'll see me, doing competitive stuff. And then,
winning RCQs.
And winning RCQs.
Yeah, I sadly couldn't stream that yesterday, but yes, there is a competitive vibe to my stream. I definitely consider myself a competitive player. So I am your sweaty Mono Black player. And here I am. But yeah. So you see me there, and you see me on podcast, and you may see me. You may just see me generally around the internet. If you search Numbskull on other socials, you'll be able to find me. And if you go to my Twitch, find all my socials. If you want to check Twitter, Instagram, whatever.
Rock on, man. And Carlo, how about you?
Yeah, so you can find me anywhere, CFavretto_Jr. on the internet. I mostly stream on Twitch, like 4 to 5 nights a week. My jam is playing lots of community content, so you'll see me playing viewer-submitted decks a lot. To climb the ladder, I hit Mythic every season with their decks, which is awesome and fun, because I get to play different decks all the time instead of like the same thing all stream. But I do occasionally play the same deck all stream, especially for our Metagame Monday bits, where I give Discord the chance to pick for a deck for me to do exactly that. But outside of that, you'll see me at different events. I got a lot of stuff coming up. You can catch that on my socials, whether that be Instagram or Twitter, maybe Threads. Who knows if I want to post there anymore. But I did just start a YouTube channel that I'll be uploading some Magic Online content to, because we're part of the MTG Creator Program. So you'll probably see me uploading like some standard content there, occasional other format content, especially Pioneer Season being a thing. And yeah, just a couple different events going to. You mentioned Command Fest Atlanta. That's coming up on the weekend of the 14th in June. I will be at DreamHack this weekend coming up. So that's going to be fun. I will be streaming there on Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time with Kuro Tsuki. We're going to be playing some Arena and having some fun times.
That's going to be awesome.
And that's going to be a good time. And I'll also be at the Too Many Games Con at the end of June in Oaks, PA.
Sweet.
Excellent. Yeah. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, thank you. And you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/handbox42. I'm there Monday through Friday. I'm also pumping out a lot more video content these days on my YouTube channel, as well as on other various socials. So yeah, links for that down in the description and whatnot. So yeah, thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. And thank you, dear listener, for hanging with us. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week. So yeah, we'll catch you on the next one, everybody. Later.
Take care, guys.
Later.